The Shark Deck.
I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Last night I watched Bert Kreischer's new special. This morning, as I was doing an Apple spin class, humble brag, I listened to Bert Kreischer with Joe Rogan. Let's start with that. Fantastic. Go listen to it. If you're really into comedy, they were talking, inside baseball, as we call it, and I thought it was really interesting. Bert apparently played Rogan's club this week, and he said to the audience he's not going to do the machine bit unless Ron White gets up and does his tater salad bit, and both happened. Imagine seeing that in a club. That must have been awesome. There's about 10 minutes or so where they started talking about sexual things and dominatrixes, and I don't know if I'm getting old or brutish. I was just like, I don't know. I just don't want to hear this right now. I really don't want to hear. You hear me stammering, and I'm not going to edit that out. I don't even want to tell you the story of what Kreischer was doing with Segura. I'm like, I don't need to hear this. I get it. So the comedy stuff was fantastic. Then they got back to talking about comedy, and Bert and Joe were talking about comedy cheats in the club, the things you can get away with in a small setting to carry a set that don't work in a theater. And I thought that was really interesting. So if you're interested in the art of comedy, high recommend on Joe Rogan and Bert Kreischer. On that same podcast, Joe Rogan discussed Will Smith, and Rogan said, the stuff Chris Rock said about Will Smith was ruthless. And then speaking of Will, imagine a thought, like, I'm just going to slap Chris Rock, one of the greatest stand-up comedians of all time. After I slap him, he's going to have some of the best comedy anybody's ever written, and he's going to hone it for over a year before he releases it. Like, what a terrible, unprovoked attack. What a dumb thing to do, to be that person who's publicly loved. Until that moment, nobody had a bad thing to say about Will Smith. Everybody loved that guy. So you can find all that on the Joe Rogan Experience, right? Bert Kreischer's new special. So originally, this episode was going to lead off with a review of the special, and I don't want to come across as negative, and I feel like the last few major specials that come out, I've been like, so let me just tell you my emotional roller coaster. Sat down, Bert Kreischer, really excited about it. Hit play, Bert comes out. It's high energy. I'm really digging the first 10 minutes or so. And then I was sitting in the comfy chair. Please understand, 100% of the time I sit in the comfy chair, I fall asleep. 100%. If I play video games, fall asleep. Watch TV, I fall asleep. So I'm watching Bert's show, and I start to get a little comfortable, and I'm enjoying it. And, maybe I'll rest my eyes here. And I actually dozed off for I don't know how long. Not that long, but I definitely fell asleep during Bert Kreischer's special. I don't say that to hate. I don't even share that to say the special was bad. I forgot to tell you, earlier in the day, I had ran a pretty aggressive treadmill race using the Zwift app. I was running this virtual race, and I had a lot of time, so I was a little tired from that. But I came to, and I got back into the special, and I just wasn't feeling the stories. And by the time it headed for the end, I couldn't wait for it to end. I actually hit pause to see how much was left, and there was 5.5 minutes left, which meant he was into or heading for his closer, and the closer was weak. And I don't know about this one. I was really excited, and again, I'm sure some of you are out there going, this guy hates every single special. I know, it's been a tough first quarter. So, John, will it make your best of 2023 list? No. And some specials not on the list include Marc Maron, Andrew Santino, and now Bert Kreischer. What is on the list, John? Excluding things that aren't stand-up specials, just stand-up specials. Number 1, Nate Bargatze, Hello World. Jim Jeffries at number 2. Chris Rock at number 3. And I have the Roast of Mr. Peanut. I know you're like, what is this guy talking about? The Roast of Mr. Peanut? Why don't you go on YouTube and actually watch the Roast of Mr. Peanut? That's the 4th best stand-up special of the year so far. Not on the list, Maron, Santino, or Kreischer. I'm sorry, Bert. I really, really enjoy you. I really liked you on Rogan. I like most things you do, but apparently wasn't feeling this latest special. I'm sorry, and I actually feel bad. Staten Island Live caught up with Artie Lange's friend Jimmy Palumbo. Jimmy Palumbo says Artie's doing okay. He's sober. He's just trying to put it all together right now, get himself healthy and have a clear mind, and he's just not really doing any public appearances. But I do talk to him. I talked to his mother and his sister, and he's just kind of put it all together. So I'm hopeful that soon you're going to see Artie Lange again. He's still got that fastball left. I pray for him. I wish him well. Me too. Worked with Artie a handful of times. He's exactly who you think he is in the good way. Really great guy to work with. The Laugh Button has announced a new special from Jay McBride, who is fantastic and below the radar. Why don't you check out this one? It's called Daddy's Girl. It's Jay McBride's debut release, and it'll be on the Laugh Button's YouTube page today. They write, Jay McBride is no joke, proudly transgender and crushing it on a national level, working as a writer on Inside Amy Schumer, as well as handling feature duties. That's taken her all the way to performances at the illustrious Madison Square Garden. This special was recorded July 2022 at Union Hall in Brooklyn. Daddy's Girl showcases Jay McBride slaying the enamored crowd with her rapid-fire wit, martini dry delivery, and genuine graciousness. Yeah, I like Jay a lot. Check that out. I'm going to avoid saying all right 3 times in a row as I tell you about Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson's new project. They're teaming up for a new Apple TV Plus comedy. They will play versions of themselves in untitled 10-episode half-hour comedy. McConaughey and Harrelson, along with their families, attempt to live together on McConaughey's Texas ranch. Can I pretend this is a Yellowstone spinoff? And of course, those close confines put the storied friendship to the test. Apple TV says the show is a heartfelt, odd couple love story revolving around the strange and beautiful bond between Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. From the LA Times, a new local comedy festival spotlighting up-and-coming talent coming to North Hollywood next month. Comedy Dynamics, cool guys who do good work in comedy. They will debut the inaugural Stars of Tomorrow Festival at the El Portal Theater, April 5th through the 9th. 18 comedians on the lineup. They'll have their sets filmed with the intention to license and distribute them in late 2023. Comedy Dynamics is a great company to partner up with. Brian Volkweiss, I've worked with him in the past. He's one of the suits over there. He's like the suit over there, and he's not a suit at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a boss, but he's not a suit. You know what I'm saying? He's cool, that's what I'm saying. Brian said, we're thrilled to be putting on our first ever festival, and we're thankful to the city of North Hollywood and the El Portal Theater for providing a great venue for the celebration. Meanwhile, the Dubai Comedy Festival is coming back May 12th to the 21st. They've announced their first 4 things. One of them's a podcast. The other's Jimmy Carr, Irish comedian Dara O'Brien, and Zakir Khan. I'm not familiar with Zakir. I'm told Zakir Khan is one of the leading stars of India's new generation of stand-up comedians and YouTubers. Very nice. The Aspen Times had a headline that cracked me up. The headline, quote, Bob Goldthwait's brand of comedy will make an appearance. What does that mean, Bob Goldthwait's brand of comedy? Isn't Bob Goldthwait making an appearance? It's not like I'm going there and doing some lame half-ass version of Bobcat Goldthwait's brand. It's Bobcat himself. Anyway, the Aspen Times asked him, you have a successful career as a screenwriter-director. Why return to stand-up in small venues? The Cat said, I started doing comedy clubs when I was 15. I got Letterman when I was 20. Now I'm 60. That was 40 years ago, and for a long time I didn't think I liked it anymore. After taking a few years off, and especially because of the pandemic, I realized I missed it. Even though I'm working on other stuff, I guess I'm a comedian before anything else, and I'm enjoying connecting with an audience again. I go out every weekend, and I do different gigs from Alabama to Anchorage. And I'm just thinking, let's see how this goes. My favorite thing is when you actually come up with an idea that you've never had before while you're on stage, and it lands. That's really it. I can't imagine another kind of performer that has that. Well, maybe a jazz artist might know the feeling, but nothing else can be compared to it. It's 2023, so they had to ask him about cancel culture, and he said, I've been canceled, says the guy on the podcast with his Twitter feed and on his Instagram. I have no freedom of speech, but you can see their pay-per-view special. Real censorship is the comedian in South America who's talking about his dad who was a radio guy with a sense of humor, and then just one day he goes to jail for cracking jokes. That's censorship. That's been canceled. These guys are all playing arenas and they're doubling down on toxic views. Dave Chappelle. The thing is, homophobia and transphobia are insidious. Going after those communities, they know they're not going to be met with as much resistance, but it's just everything is getting chipped away is crazy, from banning books, and it goes on and on. Then when you do comedy, you don't reinforce those viewpoints. Sometimes people get mad. But at the end of the night, I got to be able to hit the pillow and feel like I've done an okay job, because no matter how this all plays out, if I have grandchildren someday and they say, hey, what did Grandpa do when this was going down? I want them to say, well, he was a pretty vocal anti-fascist.
Welcome to How to Tickle Yourself. I'm your host, Duff McDonald.
And I'm your co-host, Matt McButter. We'll be talking to people who specialize in different ways of inhabiting their own consciousness, from artists to yoga teachers to scientists. We've even got a professional magician.
We're going to ask them questions like, what is consciousness? Why does it tickle? And what is magic anyway? Is it just card tricks, or is it the fact that your little speck of consciousness is part of a perfect possibility machine?
Find us wherever you get your podcasts and at storicmedia.com.
If you like what I do here, there are 2 ways to support the show. One, go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. Throw some money in the tip jar. I'll take your money. I'll go to the National Donuts chain, unless it's Wednesday, in which case I'll go to the brewery. And I'll buy a large iced coffee with caramel and milk, unless I'm at the brewery. They don't have any coffee. I'm into the Irish Red Ale this week, in case you're curious, which you weren't. The other thing you can do is go to Apple Podcasts, become a premium subscriber. You got the episodes ad-free and somewhat early, usually the afternoon before. That's $5 a month. You could try it out for a month for free, see if you like it. Maybe you hate it. Who knows? There were more podcast awards. These are the iHeart Podcast Awards. The podcast of the year went to Las Culturistas. That's Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers' podcast. On paper, I should love it. In reality, can't get into it. Best overall ensemble went to the Smartless Guys. Best comedy podcast. This is not a repeat story from the other day. These are different awards. Why Won't You Date Me with Nicole Byer. So she's won Best Comedy Podcast twice this week. Are you guys listening to that? Best overall host, Nicole Byer. Yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way. Do you need some real Irish comedy? Well, why don't you go see Real Irish Comedy with comedian Dave Nihill tonight and tomorrow at the Comedy Store in La Jolla. As an Irish American, I want to throw up when I read this description. Join comedian Dave Nihill for a night of real Irish comedy, accent included. Why don't you try that with somebody from another country and see how that goes? Accent included. Anyway, leaving Dublin, Ireland, where he was born and raised until the age of 22, Dave got drunk on travel. Why don't you try that with another nation of origin and see how this copy goes? Dave got drunk on travel and never quite hit sobriety of it. He has lived and worked in 12 countries and visited over 70. You see, the Irish are drunks and have weird accents. Sorry, it's one of my pet peeves, man. His shows draw on his wide travels, cultural observations, attempts at language study, occasional international drinking sessions, and being a mildly confused immigrant. Johnny Mac, you've twice in your own podcast said you go to the brewery. Yes, I go to the brewery once a week. I play trivia, and I have maybe 2 beers. You're off on tangents, Johnny Mac. Dave is the winner of the prestigious annual San Francisco Comedy Competition. Previous finalists include Robin Williams, Ellen DeGeneres, and Dana Carvey. Not bad. Anyway, if you're in La Jolla, go see Dave tonight. Auntie Donna has a new show. Remember during the pandemic, Netflix threw on Auntie Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun. It was a sketch comedy show that was a little weird and was very funny, and it made me a fan, and now I follow their podcast, which I enjoy a lot. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? Auntie Donna on Netflix. Trust me, Auntie Donna podcast. I don't know if you'll be into the international humor or not. Depends on your taste. Give it a shot. I recommend you check out the episodes of their podcast where they're doing it from a car. The joke being it's the first podcast ever done from a car, and they form a government while in the car. Very funny episode. It's 2 episodes where they do that. Anyway, Auntie Donna's Coffee Cafe is the new show. It's a 6-episode sitcom debuting in April on the Australian ABC. You'll have to figure out a way to watch it in the States. Nudge, nudge, say no more. You know what I mean. Filmed in Melbourne. Great city. It follows 3 friends as they try to get a trendy inner-city Melbourne cafe called Morning Brown off the ground in one of the city's lesser-known, far scungier laneways. And from the Media Gazette, Kevin Bozeman loves sports, specifically basketball. And he was asked, which NBA players' on-court talents are equivalent to your current standing in the comedy world, Kevin Bozeman? Fascinating question. Kevin Bozeman said, I'm a starter who likes to shoot a lot, so I'm like Kylie Irving. Like, I'm going to get you buckets. Just don't expect me to lead you anywhere. All right, I like that. Well played. I like to get buckets, and I like not to be required to play defense. And after the game, I like to lay back and have a couple of cocktails. He also had some advice if you're in the Cleveland area, which you might be. If you find yourself in Cleveland, you're like, what should I do? I don't know what to do this weekend. Kevin Bowman says, listen, my man, Slyman's is my favorite joint. I'll definitely have a corned beef sandwich. I'll also have their corned beef hash. I love that place. John, did you sleep this story until St. Patrick's Day because of the corned beef reference? Yes. I'm on Slymans.com. Now, if you're in Cleveland, be advised, the dining room is closed today. Carry out only. The corned beef sandwich, $18. Do you want to add some Swiss? Cost you another $1. And I was on the Spotify marketing page. I'm trying to get more downloads on Spotify. I'm trying to get more downloads everywhere, but specific to Spotify, they recommend I read you the following copy. Thank you so much for listening to Show Name. Make sure to rate and follow us everywhere you listen to podcasts, including Spotify. Tap the bell if you want to know when new episodes are available. You can also set your Spotify to automatically download new episodes for easy offline listening. All right, so you're going to do that. You're going to go to Spotify. You're going to find Daily Comedy News. You're going to rate the show. You're going to tap the bell. You're going to set auto downloads. Well, how do I do that, John? You just tap the gear icon and enable the auto download setting. Auto downloaded episodes will then appear in your episodes. Follow the show for free on, say, Spotify. Tap the bell and ring the gear and all that, or Apple Podcasts or YouTube, wherever you get your shows. Happy St. Patrick's Day.